and Lacerte, give you a feel for what that looks like. I'm going to go ahead and get started. It's a couple of items here. We've got a chat window here if you've got questions. We've got some support folk on the line who are happy to answer them. Should take about half an hour to walk through, and then we'll leave it open for additional questions. Ideally, we'll give you a feel for kind of how that information flows through both systems. So I happen to have these both on one screen here. Obviously, you'll use it throughout the office. The big advantage of kind of an online practice management system is obviously it kind of gives you access to this Lacerte information from anywhere, so we're not chained to the desktop. It also is just a lot kind of easier way to look at that information than maybe you're used to in the Lacerte dashboard. So we're excited to show it and would love to hear some questions if you've got them. So I'll just go ahead and get started. I've got a login here for BigTime. I'm already logged in as a user, so if I log out, then you can kind of see where we're at. We happen to have a lacerte.bigtime.net account, so I'm going to go ahead and log in there using my username. I can't talk and do that at the same time. And I drop right into BigTime. Now, if you've already set up BigTime, you may, there are lots of things that may already be in your realm. I happen to have already gone through the set of welcome screens and click Start. So, kind of an empty dashboard here. If I walk into the system, I have some existing clients that aren't necessarily Lacerte clients. They're just a few that I've thrown in here with some basic engagement information on them, just to give us a feel for what it looks like integrated. One of the big advantages to using BigTime with Lacerte is the ability to connect not just your Lacerte data, but also your other types of engagements, payroll, sales tax, regular accounting, all those recurring engagements that you work with. So you can get kind of a single look at all of your workflow. And so that's kind of what we'll explore a little bit today. I wanted to have 3 or 4 engagements in there so you can see kind of what it looks like in the system. So this is the dashboard. This is where we'll spend most of our time today. And it's where, the majority of the engagement management within the system occurs. So I have to be looking here. I just clicked on engagement, and it popped up the dashboard. If I wanted to add a brand new engagement, manually, let's say, then I can just hit add here, choose the client, or type in the first 2 letters of the name, give it a name, choose a type, and I can set up these types for whatever I'd like. And once I choose a type, then it'll let me choose the status as well. Where do we start out? I can assign it to anybody who works for the company, et cetera. So that becomes very simple to add brand new engagements to the system and manage them, log time against them, et cetera. So that all exists within the system. But right now, I don't have any data from Lacerte here. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead. I've got a banner down here at the bottom because I've told my sales team that I'm interested in the Lacerte connection, so they went ahead and made it available to me. And I'm just going to click that link. Now, when I do, you can see I'm in Chrome here, so you can see that it tells me, hey, you're going to download that thing and install it. And I also get the TaxLink install here in the bottom left. So I can go ahead and click it and run that install. And I have 2 monitors, so I'm going to drag this back onto the monitor you can see. And when I do, it just asks me if I want to install TaxLink. So fairly straightforward. TaxLink is the application that's going to go ahead and connect us to all that Lacerte data and get it into my dashboard here. So it takes a few minutes to run the install. Obviously, I'm in Windows, so I have to go through all that security crap. And what I'm doing here is I'm setting up this computer to be a conduit between BigTime and Lacerte. We can set up several, but usually you pick one in the office, maybe it's the front desk, somebody who's around. We need to run TaxLink on a computer that has access to your Lacerte file. And so think of that as just your conduit, right? So I'm going to just use this machine as a conduit, but I may decide to use, who knows, the server, or the admin's box, or some other box. As long as that conduit is connected to the internet, then we can see whatever data you've got, within Lacerte. If it disconnects and you make updates, then the next time it connects, all those updates will catch up. So you can see TaxLink is now installed. The first thing it wants me to do is log in again, and that's my BigTime login. Same one I used before. And I'm going to hit the login button. It'll go out and take a look at my Lacerte install, and it'll come back and tell me, hey, these are the modules that you have installed. I can uncheck the ones that I don't want to share. I'm going to go ahead and share all of them. If I need to add additional data paths, I can. Eventually, when we're 2014 and 2015, then we can come back and add those as well. But this is good enough for me. I'm just going to go ahead and hit Next and finish. And that 1, 2, 3 is all there is to installing TaxLink. Now, You can't see my system tray, but I happen to have the TaxLink application in my system tray, and it's kind of buzzing away, feeding up data. I think I have about 280 engagements in the system, and you'll start to see as TaxLink uploads, I have 277 engagements. It's uploading from that particular, that's the name of my computer, and I've got these engagements within the system that have already started to upload. And you can see those 2013, if I just hit refresh here, these 2013 individual, those are from Lacerte, right? So I'll click that first one to take a look. You can see I've got Lacerte engagements starting to come in. And while it continues to come in, we can actually start to take a look at this data. Right, and so let's just take a quick look at what we've got here, and we'll talk about what shows up from Lacerte. So all of this information came from my Lacerte integration. Obviously the name, we just pick the year and the date. The types are created automatically by the integration, and the current status shows up. That gets imported automatically from your engagement status. So if I flip over to the Lacerte page, you can see that that engagement status for Bracco is info received. And when I flip back to BigTime, that's exactly what I see here in current status. We'll pull part priority from Lacerte as well. And then in addition to that, we've got some basic budget information. Now, the due date is going to default to the federal filing date unless you have a promise date. If you put a promise date into Lacerte, then we'll use that as the due date on the engagement here. And we'll also pull in your invoicing data into the fee budget. We care about that because if you want to generate invoices, kind of complete the loop here online, then we'll use that information to generate that Lacerte invoice information. And then the last engagement set of information comes from here. So you can see the basic tax data for an individual that we're pulling for this particular return. We've got the type of the year and the individual code, et cetera, promise dates, e-file status, and priority data. All the information that we generate, that we would collect on the engagement is here. Now this is the data that's available, last modified date, created date, et cetera. This is the data that's available in the 2013 TaxLink module. In 2014, we'll add some additional fields, forms, et cetera, that you'll be able to see as well. But this is what we're pulling today in 2013. So that's the basic engagement data that's being pulled for that individual return. Now, in addition to that, we pull some customer data. And so you can see I've got the individual returns here on the left-hand side of the screen, that 2013 individual. I've also got the client information as well. So I can click on that Marlon Bracco, and it's going to open up a new window with me with what we call the client dashboard, right? And so I happen to be looking at Marlon Bracco here on the dashboard. But I'm going to go ahead and find him in my client list because he'll show up now in my client list as well. So if I jump into my company client list, somebody had asked a great question, which I'm staring at right now, that said, do we need to install this thing on every workstation? And the answer is no. TaxLink is smart enough to spot changes that you make. You only need a single conduit. You can install it on multiples if that's something that you want to do, but we don't need multiple conduits to TaxLink. We can do with just the one. So I happen to be in my client list here. I'm going to go ahead and type in BRA to get Marlon Bracco to show up. And when I click on him up here, I've got his information from Lacerte. Now, there's a lot of information that gets pulled in here. The key for us is this ID, at least in terms of project management. So you can see his client ID is 19, which means that if you're logging time, or you're creating an invoice, or you're doing a search, or your users are entering time against these various clients, they can enter in either the name or the ID. So as long as those two are consistent, then you can use that in the same way that a lawyer uses a matter number. A lot of people know the ID for a given return more readily than they know the specific name that it's under. So I happen to choose an easy one. Marlon's easy to remember, but if I wanted to, I could look up that client's ID number as well. So within my client list, obviously those two pieces of information pull. I also get the basic information here. So, I've got the address, I've got city, state, zip, all of my billing contact information shows up from, or all my contact information rather, shows up from Lacerte. If I hit edit on that, I can see Marlon's name, first and last, email, address, etc. Mobile, I don't have a main phone for him yet. That must not be filled in Lacerte. And if I go back into Lacerte, I can actually see what information is in there. So let's go ahead and open up his record. We'll take a look at, I don't know, client information here. And so if I skip down to his basics, I can do things in Lacerte like change that, street address, and maybe fill in an actual home telephone number. Work number if I need it. He's already got the mobile number in there. This is where I pull the email from. So all of that information it can be pulled from Lacerte right back into BigTime. If I come into that detail, we get back in there and maybe change the status on his, if I've gone from info received today, I want to go ahead and move that to data collection and hit OK as well, and update that status. So, make some updates to Marlon's data. Now, when I come back to this page, we'll take a look at that information for Marlon, and we'll see that we've saved some of those changes. So now we've moved his status code to info received. We'll come back to his contact information. And take a look at more of that detail there. So as the changes get made in Lacerte, they automatically push up to your client list as well. So now it's possible that those, we're importing a whole set of basic engagements. We're also running these updates. So any of the updates that you create in Lacerte get queued up, and TaxLink will spot them, and it'll push it up to the web so that you can see it online, more or less instantaneously. If you're in the middle of doing a big sync, like I am here, we're uploading all of those pieces of information, that it may take a little longer. But by and large, all that information gets transferred in real time. So if we go back and change the status of the assignment or whatever for that individual engagement, then it'll show up on our screen here. So I'm going to go all the way back down here, and I'm going to go ahead and fill in a staff preparer. Just change that information. And we'll eventually come back and see that assignment change. Now, you can see I've got all of my information here for my Lacerte tax returns. So if I just check off Lacerte, I'll see only the Lacerte returns. And you can see my status codes here. Now, I've got status codes, current status for each of those. Here's all the individual status codes. We've got some corporate partnership, etc. So I've got all the basic, detailed status codes, but everything is marked here as not started. Right, and so I want to take a look at that, because that's the next piece of the puzzle here. If I hit edit on types or on status codes, I can kind of organize my Lacerte status codes into these buckets, these stages. And this is what really lets me compare my workflow overall within the organization. So right now they're all kind of lumped together. I have the detail, but I haven't really put these status codes into buckets. So I'm going to go into 1040, which is my Lacerte. I know archived is going to go all the way into archived. So I'm going to take that status code, click it, and drag it and drop it into the archive column. And obviously in process is going to be in process. I'm going to leave new add and pro forma under not started, but once something is in contract or has info received, I'd like it to be considered in process. And the same is true with data collection and the initial draft. All those things are, I'm going to put all 5 of those into in process. The reviews for partner and for customer, I'm going to pull into under review. And then I'm going to throw invoicing and to be filed and final on extension. Right? And then not responsible, I'm going to go ahead and throw into that archive status. So I don't want to see it. If it's something that we're not responsible for, I don't want to see it. Now, these happen to be, I happen to be looking at Lacerte 1040. And just so for those of you who aren't big Lacerte users, or you're not sure where those pieces of information come from, that list of status codes that we have is under my settings. So if I go into my status codes, I can see that I've got 15 of my Lacerte status codes. Those got pulled into BigTime automatically. So all I'm doing is taking those and throwing them into buckets. Now, I don't want to do that just for 1040. I'm going to do that for all of my Lacerte engagement types. So I don't have to go back and do the same thing. I could rearrange those differently, right? So my individual returns could have a slightly different workflow than, say, my corporate returns. But for now, I'm going to do all of them the same. And what that does is it lets me go back to the engagement list. And it lets me see things not just for my Lacerte engagements, but across the entire organization in kind of more summary by status. What hasn't yet been started? What's currently in process? What do we have that's under review right now? What's in admin stage? And so it gives me a feel for how all of those things fit together. And it also lets me filter. So I can come into here and say, I just want to take a look at my corporate returns, and I can see that there are 6 under review and 2 in admin. And if I want to take a look at those 8 returns, I've got them right here. Right? And so it's just a very quick and easy way for me to see, hey, here are the things, excuse me, that are currently under review that need some work, right? And I can tell right away, if I'm doing this in a morning meeting, for example, I can tell right away, hey, here are 2 items that are under review, and these 2 items, need somebody to be assigned to them. So I'm going to go ahead and check off the ones that I want to assign to somebody, and I'm just going to reassign those. And I'll give them to Janny because he seems like he's got some free time. I can assign them to multiple people or just one. So in this case, I'm assigning it to one person. And this way, that's going to show up now on Janny's engagement dashboard. So reassigning is very simple. Very straightforward. I may decide, instead of for under review, I want to see what's been completed. And in this case, I've got lots of these guys that are final or on extension. If it's finalized, then I don't really want to see it. So I'm going to go ahead and mark those guys as final. And you can see I've got 7 here under complete. But I'm going to go ahead and archive those. And so what that'll do is it'll just mark those as 100%. It'll drop them from my view here so that they won't show up in my count. So there's a lot to engagement management. I can filter based on who it's assigned to. I can filter based on status or based on the type of engagement we've got. As long as I do a little bit of work here, and maybe 5 minutes for us, you may have a much more complicated workflow process, but 15 status codes is pretty significant. And it took us just a little bit of time to throw those into buckets, and now suddenly that workflow becomes a lot easier to manage. I still have the detail here, so I can still sort by current status and see exactly how many I've got on each of those various status codes. If I want to include all of my Lacerte engagements, I can do that. And here again, I'm sorted by current status, so I have several different finals, one for individual, partnership, corporate. But it gives me a feel for all of those. What's on extension, what do we have within the various things that we're taking a look at for completed, and that filtering becomes very, very simple. I can take a look at everything that's overdue. I can take a look at what's due this month or today. And then down here, you can see I can take a look at everything that's currently unassigned. So if I want to take a look at Jake's workload, I can just check off his name, and now I can see only the things that are assigned to Jake. So very powerful set of features here, and it's nice to be able to drill down through it and see exactly who's assigned to what. The only other thing I wanted to show you on that engagement dashboard before we move on and the status and prepare sync back to BigTime as well. Oh, so the question is on the floor here is, can we do reverse sync? And that's a great question. People are, so far the way people are using this, they kind of split down the middle 50-50. Lacerte is helpful, super powerful at the individual engagement level, filling out the return. It's a little harder to manage assignments and statuses and workflow. You get a little bit lost in the trees. I don't have a count. I don't have a summary page. And so for the people who like to manage that within Lacerte, this becomes a great view that you can see. And it's just an organizer, right? It gives you a high-level view of where you stand and who's assigned to what. But they like to manage those assignments and those status codes within Lacerte, which is fine. You can do that. And in that case, the one-way sync from the desktop to BigTime makes a ton of sense. We have a whole set of people who would rather just manage the whole process here within the Engagement Manager. So I want to set up my assignments, set up my status codes, move things around, and manage things here. And typically those are the folks who have not just tax work, but other types of work as well. So keep in mind what we're looking at right now is just Lacerte data, but that same type of client and status and additional information exists for payroll engagements and sales tax filings and regular accounting, whether it's monthly or quarterly, and BigTime supports all of that. So when you're looking at managing your entire workflow, well, now it becomes a lot easier to manage here within the dashboard and let that information kind of exist here within the dashboard. So that's the second option. Now, in 2014, with the TaxLink to 2014, we've got a much more detailed connection. And so what we'll enable with the 2014 release is the ability to turn on two-way sync. So when things get updated in Lacerte, they push up to the engagement dashboard here. And when things get updated in the engagement dashboard, for example, those changes that I just made to assign a few unassigned engagements to somebody specific, then that information can actually be pushed down with the 2014 release, 2014 module to your desktop. We have not activated that two-way sync yet, so we'll make that available. The other piece that's important to note is that two-way sync is something that you as an individual can control. So if you decide, gee, I like the idea of being able to update it in the cloud, but I want to leave it here on the dashboard. I don't want that flowing back down to Lacerte. Fine, and you can turn off that two-way sync. So it's kind of up to you in that situation. I hope that answers the question. So that's kind of what we're excited about today. Customer information lives in Lacerte, so that information flows up automatically to the system. We don't, right now in 2014, have plans to push that information back down into Lacerte. It's a little too sensitive in terms of how the filings occur. So we want to give you a view of it. You can certainly go into any of these engagements, Olivia Dental, open it up and add new contact information to Olivia Dental. So right now I happen to be looking at just the individual primary contact. If I decide that I want to add a new contact to this, then I can. I just, down at the bottom here where it says Add Contact, I happen to be looking at the solo view. I can hit the Add button and add whoever I'd like. So that information exists as well. So lots of back and forth. The key is to, it's basically contact information, initial kind of name, and then all of that engagement data that flows back and forth automatically. Very good. Okay. Just wanted to make sure I didn't have any additional questions. I'm going to close that up. I did not mention yet that we can take a look at some of these other engagement types. We're looking mostly at Lacerte. If you take a look at, say, payroll, for example, I happen to have two payroll engagements that exist here today. And these are what we call recurring engagements, right? So for payroll, in this case monthly, it looks like the first of every month we're doing payroll for these two companies, right? And so I can open it up. It automatically opens up to the current occurrence. But I can go ahead and edit the series as well and take a look at that. And you can see, in this case, it's from 9/1 to 12/31. I'm doing monthly on the first of each month. And if I want to, I can see the status, et cetera, for each of those specific recurrences. If I needed to add a new recurring engagement, it's extremely simple. I just clicked that Add button at the top and chose recurring instead of a standard engagement. I can choose a client. So, I already typed one for Morton. I can type in the first few letters and do Montgomery, or I can type in somebody specifically, pick them from the list. Fairly straightforward. We're going to call this payroll. The engagement type is going to be payroll. And initial status just means, hey, we have a new set of engagements that we're going to create. And so when you start off with each new occurrence, where do you want it to start off in your workflow? And in this case, I'm going to start off with something simple, not started. And I'm going to go ahead and assign that to Jake and to me. We'll put a couple of people on that. Let's give it a date range. So we'll start with September. And I'm going to go back to 2015. And we'll go all the way to the end of the year for 2015 as well. I am going to do monthly on the last of the month, and hit save. And so what that will do is it will create a new payroll engagement for me. You can see it right here. It's going to be for Felix Moore. Jake and I are both assigned to it. And when I open it up, I happen to be looking at the very first occurrence here. So in this case, this is the occurrence that's due on 9/30. It's got its own set of information I can control. I can control status, etc. So if I decide, hey, I'm working on this right now, payroll 9/30, then I'm going to go ahead and move it to in process, and I'll save that. And when I go back to the page, now you can see that that has moved to in process. Right? So the pieces of information that have the little red star on them, those are the pieces of information that come from the current occurrence. Right now the next due date is 9/30. I've got that in process, etc. If I go in and take a look at only this month, or if I go in and take a look at only this quarter, then I will see all of the individual occurrences. And if you do a calendar feed, obviously you'll see that occurrence each time that it occurs. But in this case, I happen to be looking at a total count. So I'm just going to see the next occurrence, whatever that happens to be. If I go into payroll and I mark that as complete, I'm going to go ahead and change that to complete here as well and hit save. Now the next occurrence is going to show up here, right? So now I have for payroll for Felix Moore, I have the 10/31 occurrence, right? And that has not yet been started. So once we complete an engagement within a series, it just picks up the next one. And those will automatically renew. I happen to have them running for a year and a half. When we get toward the end, as we complete the last item, it'll ask us, hey, do you want to extend this for a year or whatever the time frame is. So recurring engagements can be managed right alongside your Lacerte engagements. And that's, it's not really part of the Lacerte integration, but I wanted to point that out here as we walk through the webinar. Somebody had asked, are those dates exportable to Outlook, which is an excellent question. We don't have a specific Outlook integration, but Outlook supports an iCalendar feed, and BigTime supports an iCalendar feed. So I don't know, my kid plays hockey, so I have his iCalendar feed with all of his practice dates, etc., on my calendar as a separate color in my iPhone. So I can see practices and games, etc., find out where they're located. This information supports an iCalendar feed as well. So all those engagements, as well as the activities and other things that are kind of scheduled, that can all be fed from BigTime into your, whether it's Outlook or Gmail or whatever you use for email, your calendaring system, as an iCalendar feed. So if your system supports iCal, then it'll support those within BigTime. The data is still managed here within your private company file. That's not managed actively within Outlook. So it's a slightly different paradigm. It's a little bit more of a like a net-based paradigm as opposed to trying to copy all that information from system to system. Very good. So that's what we've got for engagement management in general. There's a lot more to it. We'll do some additional data pulls and kind of show you how that information feeds back and forth. I wanted to do a quick update in Lacerte to show you what that looks like and talk a tiny bit about engagement dashboard. But don't forget that we can also do things like log time against this, right? So I could do that right from here if I'm an individual who has access to this file. I can click this little button, and that's going to ask me, do you want to log time or start a timer? In this case, I'm going to go ahead and just log some time. We'll call it bookkeeping. These are my notes. And I can log in 2.25 hours or whatever I want to do and just save it. And that will automatically add then 2.5 hours to my timesheet. So if I happen to be working on those things right now, I can check off 3 or 4 and log those to my timesheet. Now, if I want to get a little bit more advanced, I can come in here and open that up and just start a quick timer. And that's all there is to it for starting a timer. It's all set. You can see my timers up here in this icon anywhere in the system. And so what a lot of folks do, I've noticed, is they pick the items that they want to work with today, and they just start timers on all of them. So as I start a new one, the old one will stop, and that gives me kind of my to-do list, if you will, in the upper left in my realm here within BigTime. So if I wait for that to finish. If I come into the system here for timers, let me go back here, and I can see the ones that I've started already. Stop them if I need to stop them, but you know, whatever I need. So there's Eileen Young. She finally started up. So I can pause her. So now I have kind of my workload, if you will, and I can kind of flip back between them. You know, click the one I want to start, stop, and use that to track my work throughout the day, right? So, so there are a lot of folks who like to use that timer feature. It doesn't mean you have to use that, you know, religiously, but if you're using that to kind of keep track of the work that you're working on today, it's a nice way to create a little short list of the stuff that you're doing. Right, so I can log time and start and stop timers right from the engagement dashboard. I never have to leave it. And I'm going to go ahead and log out here as an individual or as an admin, and I'll log back in as Jake. Jake is one of the staffers that happens to be within this system. Now, they're not an admin user, but they're a staff user. And you can see Jake jumps right to his timesheet, which is fine. But he's also got his own engagement dashboard. And so when Jake opens up the engagement dashboard, he's going to see only the things that I've given him rights to see. You know, he can't see things assigned to other people unless they're assigned to him. And you can see as I walk down through this list, all of those items that are assigned to Jake show up here. He has the exact same capabilities that I do, minus you know, some changes to this. He can't, for example, change his dashboard. He doesn't. I didn't give him access to the client dashboard, so he can't. But that's easy for me to do. He's got his own kind of format here, so he can open up, you know, partnership and see that detail, you know, whatever I've decided he should have access to. So Jake has his own dashboard, and here once again, Jake can come in and start timers on his own. So he doesn't need me to do it for him. He can use this to manage his day-to-day. He can come in and take a look himself at what's in admin or under review. These are only the things that are assigned to him, and he can actually come in here and make whatever edits I've given him rights to make edits to. So fairly straightforward and pretty powerful for Jake. He can also log time in the timesheet. Now, I'm going to go back, talk a tiny bit about that. So I'll log back in as the admin user, which is me. And when I get into the admin user, I've got a lot more access, obviously. So I'm going to go to my timesheet. And the reason I want to go to my timesheet is I want to talk about how to log time against those engagements. We have a few folks on the webinar who've been using BigTime for a bit, and I want to give those folks a chance to take a look at some of the other features here other than engagement management. One of those is obviously tracking time. Now you can see I've got 2.5 hours here that have already been logged. We logged that earlier, but I don't have engagement in my timesheet. I just have client and work code, and I want to go ahead and add engagement to that list. So to do that, I just need to go into the settings as the admin user, and I'm going to go ahead and add task, which is the same thing as engagement. We just happen to call it engagement. In fact, it's confusing for me, so I'm going to change that to engagement. And I'd like to be right next to the client, so I'm going to move it over a little bit. And that'll give me an idea of the types of things that I can track here. I want to round a quarter hour is fine. I want to start on Sunday. All those things can be edited within your company's timesheet. When you're finished, all I want to do is add engagement there. Then I can go ahead and update that format. When I do now, everybody within the firm can choose not only a client, but also an engagement when they log time. And so you can see behind the scenes that 2013 individual engagement it actually recorded. Now I can see it on my timesheet, which is really helpful. So to add time to a timesheet, and this is what I do. You know, some people use timers, some people log time as they go. A lot of accountants are very organized that way, so they have no problem, you know, hour by hour keeping track of what they do. I tend to go in, you know, at lunch and again at the end of the day and say, here's the 7 things that I've been working on all day, right? So I fill in my timesheet a tiny bit different. So this is a useful format for me. So I can come in here and do that, you know, BRA again, pull up Marlon Bracco. And I can choose the engagement I want to do work against if I've got one assigned. Now, I'm only going to see the engagements that I'm assigned to here that I have rights to see. So I need to, you know, pick one that I've got rights to actually see. I think Tracy was in there. So we'll see that 2013 individual engagement. I can see my payroll engagements if those exist. Whatever I'm assigned to, I can get access to. And then from here, I can actually fill in, you know, additional work, whatever work code I've got. Today happens to be Friday, so I can come in here and say I spent another 2 hours on it, and then I've got notes as well. So then the timesheet starts to become, not just WIP, obviously. Now I've got hours that are in progress, work in progress. Those can be attached to a billing rate. Now suddenly I've got invoicing capabilities. I can go back and take a look at the total number of hours times my base rate, my standard rate, to get a feel for how much time I spent on a given engagement, whether it's a tax engagement or a payroll engagement, any type. And now I can compare that to how much I actually billed, so I can get some realization numbers at the individual level, at the client level. If you're a larger firm, at the office or the division level, group, what have you. Partner level, so you guys can start fights at the partner meetings. So there's lots of options there for tracking with. All of that information now becomes WIP that I can actually do something with. The other thing that timesheet does for me is it gives me that note field, which is super helpful because next year I can come back and take a look at the notes from the timesheets for the last engagement to get a feel for the types of things that I was dealing with at the time. So it just becomes this repository that you can use on top of the activities and the notes, et cetera, that you can put into the client dashboard. Don't neglect those notes that you can put into the timesheet. The more detailed they are, the easier it is to go back and recall exactly what type of work you've done. So a lot of people use that as as a little bit of CYA in that process. I want to make sure that I have enough information that if the client questions a bill, I can come back and tell them the detail. But it's also really helpful in terms of institutional knowledge to get a feel, 6 months from now, why exactly did we take so much time on that particular corporate return? Oh, okay, we spent 6 weeks waiting, or we spent 3 weeks doing X or Y, coming back and doing some reapplying some net operating loss from prior years, whatever. So it gives a feel for whether that's going to show up again this year, types of questions you need to ask, et cetera. So hopefully that's useful for you. So that's kind of all we've got for engagement dashboard. It all exists within the system today. So if you're interested in giving it a try, signing up for a trial is free. We can get you going in about the 5 minutes it took us to get our 2013 integrated. You've got 30 days to kick the tires, so you can play with it for that period and make sure that you're all set. Typically what folks are doing is playing with it through this extension period. And then when we're ready to roll in November, when the 2014 release of Lacerte comes out, we can just roll right into that. Maintain extensions going forward, but really focus on the 2014 tax year. So it gets everybody a chance to get used to this interface for managing that work and that WIP. Keep in mind that we've got a chance for questions, so I'd love to answer whatever you've got. We've also got some additional webinars coming up throughout the fall in order to help folks in the tax practice, the accounting community, kind of get used to this concept of shared workflow and engagement management and practice management. A little bit of additional detail on how the engagement manager works, how to customize it, how to tweak the view, but also some information on invoicing, taking a Lacerte engagement all the way through the invoicing process to clear out that WIP that we talked about earlier and attach it to a specific kind of billing incident. So we'll do a little bit of webinar data on that. So take a look at those. We'll be sending out emails and posting it online. We'd love to have you back. So I'm going to stare at these questions here. Are engagement dates exported to, okay, so we already answered the Outlook question. Somebody had asked a question about the assignments. Right now we get both preparer and staff preparer. And the question is, could we eliminate one of those so that I only see the staff preparer, for example, as the assignment? And we don't have an integration yet, a configuration yet for that capability. To be frank, I don't know where that, I don't know enough about the 2014 release to say that feature exists or doesn't exist, but it's a great idea. Before we had, let's see, if you're coming from Intuit, it had a package called Practice Management where only the staff preparer showed up, or no, only the preparer showed up in the assignment field, which was a kind of a disaster. And so we've pulled both in. The question the audience asked is, do we have to have both? Can we just pick one? And I think it's a great idea. I don't know whether that configuration exists yet in 2014, but we can certainly check on it and have support get back to you as to how that process works. I'd be happy to. The audience had asked, do we integrate with QuickBooks? Yeah, absolutely, we do. The QuickBooks integration is fed right alongside this. It's all about matching, right? And so we have the capability to say, hey, here's an engagement from Lacerte, a client from Lacerte, and here's a client with the exact same name from QuickBooks. So, okay, those are easy to match up, right? Where it gets tricky are where the names don't match, and in which case you just kind of have to merge those together. And you'll spot them. It's very easy to merge an existing client. If I go into my client list on the system, if I've got both Lacerte and QuickBooks engagements, you'll be able to sort by name like this. And then you can kind of scan through the list of clients on that list and figure out where there are dupes and highlight them. So in this case, I don't have any. I can scan through them. But if I decide, I want to merge, for example, Seth and Judy Bloom, then I can click on their record. Instead of deleting them, I'm going to merge them, and BigTime will ask me, hey, who do you want to match them with? Type in a few letters, I'll find them, and hit merge. And what that will do is it will eliminate this record, this client record, and it'll merge the data underneath it together. So I'll have a QuickBooks contact and a Lacerte contact. A QuickBooks or a Lacerte engagement, nothing engagement level merges in from QuickBooks. And so it just is a quick way for me to manage a universal set of clients. It's a great question. It's a great question. Somebody else had asked, on the list of fields here, what other information can I see on this screen? And I guess we didn't really cover that yet, but it's a fairly powerful screen, right? So I happen to be looking at it shrunk up like this. I can maximize it so I can see more data. In this case, I've got engagement, client, status, and due date. If I wanted to include other fields, I can. Engagement type or start date. All these pieces of information I can include. Some people want to include the notes as well, which is fine. Maybe I want to do estimated fees or estimated hours, the total estimate, etc. I can include any of that information. When I'm finished, just hit apply, and all of that information then gets loaded up into my grid here. So I can see all that data. I happen to have it on one screen. I've seen people, it's just a browser, right? So I can shrink the browser window, and I can grow it all the way across multiple screens and see a ton of information there once it's maximized like that. So super helpful on the morning meeting, right? If I want to see lots of data there, I can see it all on the list. And of course, all that is filterable as well. And by that I mean if I want to see things that are due, I don't know, say this week, right? I'm sure there's not going to be anything due this week, but let's just use 9/1 to 9/30 as an example. I can hit my filter button, which is in the upper right there. I'm pointing at it. I don't know if you can see it. And it'll create a due date filter. I can just choose, I want 9/1 to 9/30. And now I'm going to see all of the items that are due only within that period. So that happens to be easy to filter on. I can get a lot more advanced. Right, I can merge. I can take a look at everything where the client name has the word printing in it, or I can take a look at everything where the type has the word Lacerte in it. Right, so that filtering becomes super powerful, and it's independent of these quick filters over here on the left. Right, so think of the quick filters as a way to get down to a specific kind of broad data set, and then you could use this filter button to chisel away at the detail. Right, so it's kind of rough and finish, if you will. And then obviously I can search as well. So if I want to come in here and look up print, then I can. I've got two of them. I've got Morton Printing. And if I go down a little bit more, I've got another 2013 for Morton Print. So it looks like I've got a payroll and a 2014 engagement for Morton Printing. So that's what the search button does as well. Lots of different options there. So somebody else had asked about those bulk actions. There's lots of things that I can do. If I come into admin and under review, I don't know what you want to see, but I can check off all of them, uncheck the ones that I don't want to change. That's important. And then my bulk actions let me either archive, reassign it, update the status. So in this case, I've got a bunch of different types, so I need to change the status because this is fairly typical in workflow. If I'm checking off all these things that are ready to invoice, then I want to check them off. I want to change the status to ready to invoice, and then just as important, I want to assign that to whoever the person is that's going to generate that invoice, right? So here, once again, we're trying to get Lacerte to live within a larger ecosystem that is your firm, right? So I have a bunch of people who prepare returns, but then I also want to assign that up to a partner or maybe to an admin whose job it is now to, phone the client and make sure that we get the information that's missing, or produce the invoice and post it over to QuickBooks. And so BigTime kind of lets you, expand beyond that Lacerte, data entry on the return and production of the return, which is very good at, and really lets it live within a larger ecosystem here in terms of workflow for your organization. Very good. A couple of questions about invoicing, and I appreciate them. We do have an invoicing webinar. I don't want to, we spent 45 minutes on it, so I don't want to, we can spend 45 minutes on just invoicing. I'd love to talk with you about it, and definitely we'll get, if you're interested, we'll get you that invoicing webinar. It's one of my favorite ones. So I don't know if I'll run it in the next couple of weeks, but it's a great webinar to take a look at because it's really the key. Once I'm entering 3 time entries and 6 timers, right? I'm just an individual here, but if you're a firm of even 3 or 4 people, WIP can get pretty involved. And so, the great thing about BigTime is it lets us see that WIP right away, drill down through it and generate invoices from it, or just clear it out, if we want to keep track of it that way. But, we support multiple rates. We support rates by individual as well as rate by client. So you can kind of mix and match, if you decide. We have some crazy rate situations, but then that's what clients request. Somebody says, "Hey, I'm not going to pay your full rate if the work you're doing is admin work." Okay, great. So I'm going to do the standard staff rate, but any work that's classified as admin, we're going to bill at $85 an hour, whatever the number is. So the reality of rates is that you have to match up what a client's willing to pay for. So we support a bunch of different scenarios. It's complicated enough to support things like IT services and engineering. Most of the rate structures within accounting are pretty straightforward, and they tend to be people-based, so they're easy to support. But then beyond that, we support a bunch of different invoicing styles. So you want to show a one-line invoice of $500 for services rendered, great. You want to show a detailed invoice with all of the time entries, and then bill them for $500, but show them you did $1,200 worth of work, fine. We support any of those. And you can mix and match. So invoicing is a very powerful feature. Managing WIP is a very powerful feature within the system. Then tack on top of that reporting. We've got all this information that's flowing into the system, but if it's just a dead end, it doesn't do you good. So we let you mix and match all of that information into your own reports, run your own queries, export them to PDF or Excel, and do whatever you want with them. So the system's very powerful. So if you're interested in that type of thing, I definitely recommend checking out those webinars. If you don't want to wait for the webinar and you'd rather have one of our sales guys call, that's awesome. One of the customer support guys can give you a buzz and walk you through it. They love doing that sort of thing, and it lets you do kind of one-on-one. So feel free to ask if that's something you're looking for. Very good. Well, listen, I appreciate everybody spending the 45 minutes. We will run more of these, and we'd love to get your feedback. So if there's stuff on here that you did not see that you'd like to see, please let us know. Anything you give us will help us make that better for the community out there as we reach out to more and more Lacerte users. So super helpful already with the questions. Thanks, everybody, for coming, and have a great weekend.